You know, this week we've certainly had our ups and downs when it comes to the video game industry. Let's talk about a couple of those. Number one, Dragon Quest had their 35th anniversary. They announced a bunch of stuff that I really don't care about, but there are two things that they announced that I think look incredibly cool and I'm very, very excited for. First off, I've not played all of the Dragon Quest games. I just jumped in with Dragon Quest on Dragon Quest Builders 2 and Dragon Quest XI. Those are the only two Dragon Quest games that I've played. I really enjoyed both of those, and so when they announced the 35th anniversary celebration, I was excited to find out what they were going to bring to this franchise. Most of the stuff that they talked about isn't for me, and that's totally fine. But there's two things that I found really exciting. Number one, they're remaking Dragon Quest III, which is a game I never played. They're remaking it in the same engine, I believe, as Octopath Traveler. If you didn't know, Octopath Traveler is another game from Square Enix. It is one of the most gorgeous games that you've ever seen, not because it has ray tracing or anything like that, not because it looks super realistic or has the most mapped shaders in the world. I don't know what that means, but because the art direction is just so top notch. And that's what sets a game apart. When you look back in time at games, the games that have really strong art direction are the games that we remember as being really, really beautiful, even a long time down the road. You look at the games that look the most realistic today, in 10 years, we're going to look at them and we're going to think that they look like garbage. And that's what it has been in the past. So when I say that Octopath Traveler is one of the most gorgeous games you will ever see, I'm talking about the future too. Like, it is gorgeous, and I feel like it's the kind of game that will stay as beautiful down the road as it does today because it's all about art direction, not technology. So if you've never looked at it before, basically what they do is they have these 2D sprites that they separate using 3D and lighting, and they turn out to be absolutely gorgeous. On top of that, they layer in really cool spell effects that make everything stand apart from everything else. It's extremely cool, and I love the way that it was done in Octopath Traveler, so I'm very excited that Dragon Quest III is getting remade using the same engine. I wish that Square Enix would do the same thing with their other games, like all of the 2D Final Fantasy games and, you know, all of the Dragon Quest games. Now, they did say basically that this is a test, and depending on how well this does, maybe they will remake other games using this engine. I think that they're already probably working on remaking the other games in this engine, and they're just trying to drum up more sales by saying that. But I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that as long as we get to play Final Fantasy VI or, you know, Final Fantasy III, depending on who you talk to, in this engine, because it's going to be awesome. I want to see Chrono Trigger in this engine. Square Enix, you're onto something here. Anyway, they're calling it the HD 2D remake for Dragon Quest III, and it's supposed to come to all console. Well, okay, they said it's released on console. They didn't specify which console, so I'm assuming it'll be on Switch and PlayStation and Xbox and Stadia and Luna and pretty much everywhere where you can get Square Enix games right now anyway. Although I don't think you can get Square Enix games on Luna at this point. I anticipate it'll happen eventually. Moving on. The next thing that I thought was pretty exciting is just it's not even a trailer. It's just a logo reveal, and that is Dragon Quest XII. I loved Dragon Quest XI. I can't wait to see what they end up doing with Dragon Quest XII. The way that they unveiled the logo is this cool thing with fire, kind of making an X for the 10 and then a single line. And I was like, wait a second, that's 11. What are they doing with 11 again? Are they going to make Dragon Quest 11 2? But then they had the fire shoot down and complete the 12 logo. I believe it's called... I've forgotten what it's called. I'm looking right now. All right, that's really weird. I went to the official press release for the Dragon Quest 35th anniversary. did not tell you the title of Dragon Quest XII at all. I had to go to third-party websites to find out that it's called The Flames of Fate. But anyway, those are the two games that I'm most excited for from the Dragon Quest 35th anniversary announcements. Are there any announcements in there that you thought were really cool? Let me know in the comment section down below. Before we move on to the Stadia news, if you're enjoying the video, make sure that you leave a like and click on the subscribe button. And I looked, and only about 17% of people have turned on all notifications. So if you click on that bell, you'll get notified about each and every video that we put out. The next thing is the Stadia Pro games for June. There are 4 games coming for June. That would be Chronos Before the Ashes, MotoGP, Trials of Cold Steel 3, and Blue Fire. 2 of these I'm super excited for. I already own Chronos Before the Ashes. That game is really cool. Very interesting mystery kind of game. And I like the combat. The combat's kind of Souls-like. MotoGP, I don't care about even a little, but there's a lot of people out there that do, so hooray for them. Trials of Cold Steel 3 is a turn-based JRPG. I love turn-based JRPGs. I love to start turn-based JRPGs. I don't love to finish them because they tend to be way too long, but I'm definitely interested in playing Trials of Cold Steel 3. And then Blue Fire is this really cool-looking, I would say, Zelda-inspired platformer, which is a weird thing to say because Zelda is not a platformer, but that's what I would describe Blue Fire as. I love the art style for Blue Fire as well. I think it's an absolute gorgeous game. All of those games are coming to Stadia Pro June 1st. So if you are already subscribed to Stadia Pro, then you're going to have access to those. Now on Tuesday, they made those announcements for the Stadia Pro games, but then on Wednesday, they made some more announcements, bringing 2 more games to Stadia this summer. The first is Control. Control is a game, I won't tell you anything about it. What I will say is that it's already streaming on the Nintendo Switch. It's already streaming on Luna, so it does not surprise me at all to see it coming to Stadia. It's won tons of awards. Everybody that I've ever talked to that's played it has said it's fantastic. I'm very interested in it. Why I haven't played it until now, I really don't have an excuse. So this summer, when it comes to Stadia, I guess I'm going to have to try it out. Moving on to the one that kind of caught me off guard, that is Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. It has over 18 different sports. Look, I don't care about sports. I really don't care about the Olympics as a video game, but it's definitely a gap in the library of Stadia that needs to be filled, and now it's being filled. This is coming from Sega, and I think that it looks pretty fun if you are into these kind of games. For me, not interested, but for everybody else, it comes on June 22nd, so that's really like not very far away. It's less than a month away before you're going to be able to play this. And you know what? Maybe this is actually a game that would interest me because it has so many different sports in it. Maybe there are games or small sections of it that would be very, very appealing to me. And that's probably one of the reasons that these Olympic games always do so well, because they have little snippets of gameplay from a bunch of different styles, and there's something that can appeal to everyone. I think that's a possibility, don't you? All right, the last thing that I want to talk about today is a bad thing, and that's this tweet from Randy Pitchford. He tweeted this out. He said, "Good news or bad news first? Good news. An update for Borderlands 3 has been prepared for release that includes full cross-play support across all platforms." That is amazing. I'm super excited for that. Playing Borderlands 3 is a wonderful experience. It's so fun. Being able to play Borderlands 3 with people who are on other platforms than the one that I choose to play on is even better. That's just fantastic. I'm super excited for that. But then he followed it up with this. Bad news. For certification, we have been required by the publisher to remove crossplay support for PlayStation consoles. What does this mean? Well, I believe that this is probably in response to, there was some information that leaked out that basically said that Sony requires publishers to pay a ransom in order to allow their games to be crossplay with other platforms. Basically saying, look, if you're going to allow our players to play with people from other platforms, you're going to pay us money for that privilege, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So in response, this publisher said, okay, well, you can play crossplay with everybody unless you're on PlayStation. And honestly, I think that that's the right move. I think that every single publisher out there should say, you know what? PlayStation won't do crossplay with everybody. We will leave Sony in the dark so that they can't play with anybody else until Sony stops acting like these big bullies trying to push everybody around with their muscle. It's ridiculous. This is exactly the reason why I ended up getting an Xbox Series X this generation and not buying myself a PS5. That and the fact that the Xbox is a rectangle and the Series 5 is some weird shape that I don't know. So I'm curious what you all think about this. I think it's awesome that Borderlands is now going to be crossplay. So I'll be able to play it on Stadia. I'll be able to play it on Xbox. I'll be able to play it wherever and be able to play with whoever. That's fantastic. But Sony is really getting in the way here and making it so that we can't play with people on PlayStation. Why are they doing that? Because they're going to say they're trying to protect their users from everybody else, but the real reason is because they feel that if they can force people to buy a PlayStation in order to play with their friends, they'll sell more PlayStations. And look, if the shoe was on the other foot and Xbox had one last generation like Sony did, my guess is that's how Microsoft would be behaving right now, and Sony would be doing the right thing. But because Sony did so well last gen, I feel like they are pushing a little too hard. And, it reminds me of the story of Icarus. They're going to fly too close to the sun, and they're going to tick people off. And I really hope it comes back to bite them, because what Sony's doing here is wrong. It's absolutely wrong, and it's for no other reason than just pure greed. And the sooner that Sony realizes that what is good for their customers is going to be good for them in the long run, I think that is a good lesson for them to learn. Anyway, what do you guys think of the announcements this week? Are you excited for the Dragon Quest stuff? Are you excited for the Stadia Pro games? Are you angry at Sony for their shenanigans? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to click on all the buttons because it really does help. And I will see you next time. Stay awesome, everybody.